Welcome back to channel. For 2,000 years humanity has read, "In the beginning was the Word," without grasping its true power. This isn't poetry or religious metaphor. Joel Goldsmith discovered this is the actual creative principle that governs all manifestation, healing, and transformation in your life right now. What you're about to learn changes everything you thought you knew about reality. Most people believe words are just sounds or symbols on paper. They think reality exists independently and words merely describe it. This fundamental misunderstanding keeps millions trapped in limitation, disease, and struggle. The mystics knew differently. They understood that word or consciousness is the very substance from which all things are formed and maintained. Here's the revelation that transformed Joel's ministry. The word isn't something God spoke once long ago. The word is the eternal creative activity of consciousness happening right now in you. When you truly comprehend this, you hold the key to healing any condition and manifesting your highest good. Not through effort or manipulation, but through recognition. Think about what this means for your life today. Every circumstance you face, every condition in your body, every relationship, every financial situation exists first as consciousness before it appears as form. The word you're holding in awareness is creating your experience moment by moment. Change the word, transform the consciousness, and reality must shift. Joel Goldsmith spent decades in deep meditation before this mystery revealed itself completely. He watched as students who grasped this principle experienced healings that medical science called impossible. Financial lack dissolved, relationships healed. But those who treated it as mere philosophy saw no change. The difference. One group recognized consciousness as substance itself. Think about your body right now. You've been taught it's solid matter separate from your thoughts. Yet every cell responds instantly to your consciousness. Fear contracts it. Peace expands it. Your word, your consciousness is literally forming your physical experience moment by moment. This isn't metaphysical theory, but observable fact. The revelation deepens. There's only one consciousness, one word. What appears as your individual mind is actually the infinite expressing as you speak from this recognition. You're not trying to change reality. You're recognizing what's already true in the realm of spirit. And that recognition manifests as form. Joel discovered that most spiritual teaching gets this backwards. People try to use their mind to manipulate consciousness to force reality, to conform to their desires. But consciousness doesn't work for you. Consciousness is what you are. The word isn't a tool you use. The word is your very being expressing itself as your world. Let me show you how this works practically. A woman came to Joel paralyzed with fear about her child's diagnosis. Instead of treating the disease, Joel helped her recognize the truth. In the beginning was the Word. The child's true being existed in perfect consciousness before any physical condition appeared. That spiritual reality was the actual truth. As she sat in meditation, something shifted in her awareness. She stopped seeing a sick child and recognized the eternal Word made flesh, whole and complete. Within days, symptoms began disappearing. The doctors were baffled. She understood she hadn't healed her child through mental power. She'd recognized what was already true in consciousness. This is radically different from positive thinking or affirmations. You're not trying to create something new or change what is. You're recognizing the eternal Word, the spiritual reality that precedes and governs all material appearance. When your consciousness rests in this recognition, the outer conforms to the inner truth you're perceiving. The woman practiced this daily for weeks. Some days the symptoms seemed worse and doubt crept in, but Joel taught her appearances are temporary. The word is eternal. Keep recognizing truth regardless of what the senses report. She persisted and complete healing manifested. This is the power of sustained recognition. Here's what Joel discovered that most spiritual teachers miss. The word operates whether you're conscious of it or not. Your current life conditions are the word you've been speaking through your consciousness. Lack, disease, discord. These reveal a consciousness accepting material sense as power. They're showing you where you've forgotten the word. But this isn't about blame or guilt. It's about power. The moment you recognize that consciousness is the creative word, you can shift from unconscious creation to conscious recognition of truth. You're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're the very presence of the word taking form as your experience right now. The secret Joel emphasized repeatedly: don't try to use this principle to get something that still operates from the belief that you lack. Instead, recognize that the word which was in the beginning is expressing as you now complete and whole. From that recognition, all things are added. This is the mystery finally revealed. Joel would sit with students and ask them, "What word are you speaking about your life right now? Not with your mouth, but with your consciousness. What are you recognizing as true?" Whatever you're holding in awareness as truth is the word creating your experience. This understanding gives you complete responsibility and complete freedom. A businessman attended Joel's class drowning in debt, watching his company crumble. He'd tried every success technique, every positive affirmation. Nothing worked because he was still operating from the belief that he needed to create abundance. Joel taught him something completely different. Recognized that the word infinite consciousness was already expressing as his business. For 3 weeks he sat daily in meditation, not asking for anything, not trying to change conditions. He simply recognized my business exists in the word in consciousness where supply is infinite. I'm not creating prosperity. I'm recognizing what's already true in the spiritual realm. His only job was staying conscious of this truth. The shift happened gradually. Then suddenly an unexpected investor appeared. Clients returned. Debts resolved through channels he never imagined. He didn't attract these things through mental power. His consciousness resting in truth naturally manifested as harmonious outer conditions. The word became flesh in his experience because he'd recognized it in consciousness first. Joel explained to him later, "You didn't make anything happen. You simply stopped blocking the natural flow of good by recognizing what was already true. Consciousness always expresses its nature. When your consciousness rests in truth of infinite supply, that truth must appear as your experience. This is law, not hope." Joel worked with a woman whose marriage was ending in bitterness and conflict. She wanted him to help her change her husband, make him more loving and understanding. Instead, Joel revealed something that initially frustrated her. Her husband, in truth, was the word made manifest. His eternal spiritual identity was perfect, whole, complete. She protested that this wasn't her experience. Joel gently explained that her experience was reflecting her consciousness, not the truth. Every time she saw her husband as flawed, angry, or distant, she was speaking that word into manifestation. The word she held in consciousness about him was creating what she experienced. It took months of practice, but she learned to see past behavior to the spiritual reality. When he was angry, she silently recognized this isn't the truth of who you are. In consciousness, you are the perfect word made flesh. Slowly, their relationship transformed. He softened. Communication opened. She discovered that seeing truth and consciousness about another is the highest form of love. The breakthrough came when she realized she'd been trying to change her husband instead of recognizing him. Joel taught her, "You can't change anyone. But when you see them as they truly are in consciousness, that recognition creates space for their own truth to emerge. Your word about them is more powerful than their temporary behavior." A young man came to Joel with chronic pain that doctors couldn't explain or relieve. Joel asked him a startling question. "What word are you holding in consciousness about your body?" The man didn't understand. Joel explained, "Your body is the word made flesh. It's consciousness taking form. The pain reflects a word of belief in material limitation." Joel taught him to sit in silence and recognize a different truth. In the beginning, before this pain, before this body took form, there was the word. My true body exists in that word in consciousness where there is no pain, no limitation, no disease. That's my reality. This physical sensation is showing me where I've believed in matter as power. The practice wasn't about denying his pain or pretending it didn't hurt. It was about recognizing a deeper truth beneath the appearance. As he practiced daily recognizing his body as consciousness rather than matter, the pain began releasing. Not through fighting it, but through recognizing it never touched his true being, which existed eternally in the word. After 6 weeks of practice, the pain disappeared completely. But something more profound happened. He lost his fear of the body. He understood that his true identity existed in consciousness, untouched by physical conditions. Even if pain returned, he knew it wasn't his reality. This freedom from fear was the real healing. Here's what these stories reveal. The word isn't something you speak with your mouth. It's the consciousness you hold, the recognition you maintain, the truth you rest in. Every condition in your life is showing you what word, what consciousness you've been holding about it. This is powerful because it means you're never a victim of circumstances. When you recognize that consciousness is the creative word, you stop trying to change effects and start recognizing cause. You stop battling conditions and start resting in truth. The physical realm must conform to what you're recognizing in consciousness, because consciousness is the substance, the word from which all form manifests. Joel proved this thousands of times, not through wishful thinking or manipulation, but through recognition of what's eternally true in the realm of spirit. The word that was in the beginning is still speaking. still creating, still manifesting right now through your consciousness. That's the mystery revealed. Each person who discovered this truth experienced the same awakening. They'd been living backwards, trying to fix effects while ignoring cause. Once they turned to consciousness, recognizing truth there first, their outer world had no choice but to conform. This is the principle that governs all manifestation. If these transformation stories inspire you, like this video to help others find these teachings. Subscribe for more Joel Goldsmith wisdom and comment. What healing journey resonated most with you? Now let's explore the practical technique Joel taught for living from this word consciousness daily. He called it the practice of recognition. Every morning before engaging with the world, sit quietly and recognize everything I will encounter today already exists in consciousness in the word perfect and complete. I'm not going out to face problems, but to witness spirit manifesting. This is an affirmation or visualization. You're not trying to create a good day. You're recognizing what's already true in the realm of consciousness before material appearance. Joel emphasized that 5 minutes of true recognition is worth hours of mental struggle and planning. Why? Because you're aligning with the creative word itself. Throughout your day, when challenges appear, pause and ask, what is the word, the consciousness truth about this situation? If it's financial pressure, recognize infinite supply exists in consciousness. Now, if it's relationship tension, recognize this person is the word made manifest, whole and perfect in truth. You're training yourself to see past appearance to reality. Joel practiced this so consistently that it became automatic. In the middle of chaos, he would inwardly recognize truth. His students watched him remain peaceful while handling crises that would shatter others. He wasn't suppressing emotion or pretending problems didn't exist. He was simply resting in the word while appearances played out. Joel taught a complementary practice he called listening for the word. Most people's minds are filled with constant mental chatter, plans, worries, and opinions. This noise drowns out the still small voice of truth. The word is always speaking in consciousness, but you must become still enough to hear it. Set aside time daily to sit in complete silence, not asking for anything, not trying to figure anything out. Just listen. Wait, be receptive. Joel discovered that in this deep listening, truth would arise spontaneously. Not words you think up, but recognition that simply appears in your awareness. This is the word speaking itself through your consciousness. Many of Joel's most profound healings came when he stopped trying to know what to do and simply listened until truth revealed itself. A woman's cancer, a man's addiction, a child's trauma. In each case, the word spoke its truth into Joel's consciousness, and that recognition manifested as healing. You have access to this same source. The key is patience. Most people sit for 30 seconds and give up because nothing happens. Joel would sit for an hour or more just listening, just being receptive. Eventually, truth would rise like a spring from deep within consciousness. That truth recognized and rested in would then appear as healing in the outer world. Another powerful technique, Joel taught his students to practice recognition on ordinary things before tackling major challenges. Look at a tree and recognize this isn't matter. This is consciousness taking form. The word made visible. Feel the shift in your perception. You're seeing past material appearance to spiritual reality. Practice with everything. Your food isn't dead matter, but consciousness nourishing consciousness. Your home isn't just physical structure, but the word expressing as shelter and harmony. Your body isn't biological machinery, but infinite consciousness taking form. This practice trains you to live from word consciousness rather than material sense. As this becomes natural, you'll find yourself automatically recognizing truth in challenging moments. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and before anger rises, you recognize that driver is consciousness. The word made flesh, even if their behavior doesn't show it. This instant recognition prevents discord from taking root in your experience. Joel called this developing spiritual vision. You begin to see through material appearance to the spiritual reality beneath everything. A sick person isn't just a body with disease. Their consciousness temporarily believing in material limitation. A wealthy person isn't just someone with money. Their consciousness recognizing its own infinite nature. Everything becomes transparent to truth. Joel's final complementary practice was what he called dwelling in the secret place. This means maintaining an inner awareness of truth even while functioning in the outer world. You're having a conversation, but inwardly you're conscious. This entire interaction is taking place in the word in consciousness. There's no separation. You're working at your job, but you're inwardly aware. This isn't just employment. This is the word expressing as my purpose and supply. Every person you interact with becomes an opportunity to recognize truth beneath appearance. Every situation becomes a chance to rest in consciousness rather than react to conditions. This isn't split attention or mental exhaustion. It's the most natural state of being because you're living from your true nature as consciousness itself. Joel lived this way constantly in his later years. People felt peace just being near him because he was resting in the Word. This is available to you through practice and recognition. Students would ask Joel how he maintained this awareness constantly. He explained, it's like breathing. At first, you must consciously remember, but with practice, it becomes your natural state. You're no more aware of consciously recognizing truth than you are of consciously breathing. It's simply how you live. But let's be honest about the challenges you'll face practicing this. The biggest obstacle Joel identified is the hypnosis of material sense. You've been conditioned since birth to believe the physical world is primary reality, and consciousness is just something happening inside your head. Reversing this perception takes time and patience. You'll sit in meditation recognizing truth, then open your eyes and physical appearance seems more real than consciousness. Your bank account looks empty, despite recognizing infinite supply. Your body still hurts despite recognizing perfect spiritual wholeness. This is where most people give up thinking the principle doesn't work. Joel was clear. The appearance doesn't immediately dissolve because you've recognized truth once. Material sense has momentum built over years of belief. Your job isn't to make appearance change. Your job is to continue recognizing truth regardless of appearance. As consciousness shifts permanently, appearance must eventually conform. He would tell students, you didn't create your current conditions overnight. They're the accumulated result of years of consciousness. Don't expect them to vanish instantly when you begin recognizing truth. But know this with certainty. Every moment of recognition is shifting consciousness. The outer world has no choice but to eventually reflect that shift. Another challenge is the temptation to use this principle for personal gain. You learn that consciousness creates experience and immediately you want to use it to get things: money, relationships, health, success. Joel warned. This approach always fails because it still operates from the belief in lack and separation. The Word doesn't work through manipulation or mental force. It works through recognition and rest. When you try to use consciousness to get something, you're affirming you don't have it. You're speaking a word of lack even while trying to create abundance. The very effort blocks the natural flow of good from consciousness into manifestation. Joel taught instead, recognize that the Word contains all things within itself. You're not trying to add something to consciousness. You're recognizing what's already complete and whole. From that recognition of fullness, abundance naturally manifests, not because you made it happen, but because consciousness expressing form is its nature. This is perhaps the subtlest point to grasp. You must want nothing while recognizing everything. You must desire nothing while acknowledging that all good already exists in consciousness. It's a state of resting in fullness rather than reaching for lack. Most people struggle with this for months before understanding it experientially. Many students struggle with maintaining recognition when facing medical diagnosis or financial crisis. The appearance seems so real, so urgent, so overwhelming. How do you recognize perfect health and consciousness when pain screams through your body? How do you recognize infinite supply when creditors are calling? Joel's answer? Start where you are, but don't stay there. Acknowledge the appearance without giving it power. Yes, the body seems to hurt. Yes, the bank account seems empty, but these are effects, not cause. They're showing you the consciousness you've been holding, not the truth of your being in the Word. Then make the shift. What's true in consciousness right now, regardless of appearance, the Word that was in the beginning is still expressing as me, whole and complete. I rest in that truth. I don't deny the appearance, but I no longer accept it as my reality. My reality exists in consciousness where all is already perfect. Joel worked with a man facing bankruptcy who practiced this daily for 3 months. While conditions seemed to worsen, he wanted to quit, convinced it wasn't working. Joel told him, "The darkest hour comes before dawn. Your consciousness is shifting even when appearance suggests otherwise. Trust the principle." Within 2 weeks, an unexpected solution emerged. The final major challenge is patience and persistence. Joel worked with some students for months or even years before major breakthroughs occurred. Others experienced rapid transformation. The difference wasn't in the principle or in Joel's teaching. It was in how consistently students maintained their recognition of truth versus slipping back into material sense. You might practice recognition beautifully for weeks, then hit a crisis and completely forget everything you've learned. You're back in fear, struggle, and material sense before you realize what happened. Joel said, "This is normal. Don't condemn yourself. The moment you realize you've slipped into material sense, gently return to truth. Each time you return to recognition, you're strengthening your consciousness. Each time you choose truth over appearance, you're building spiritual muscle. Eventually, recognition becomes more natural than reaction. You find yourself automatically resting in word consciousness. This is when your outer experience transforms permanently. Joel compared it to learning any skill. At first, every action requires conscious effort and feels awkward. With practice, it becomes natural and effortless. Recognizing truth as your primary reality works the same way. Be patient with yourself. Every moment of practice counts, even when results aren't yet visible. If these challenge-breaking techniques speak to your heart, like to support this content, subscribe for advanced spiritual practices, and comment. Which obstacle are you ready to transform? Now let's explore how this word consciousness operates in advanced real-life scenarios. Joel worked with a corporate executive facing a hostile takeover of her company. Everything in the material realm suggested complete loss. Her position, her team's jobs, years of work, traditional business strategy offered no solutions. Joel taught her something radical. This entire situation exists first in consciousness before it appears in boardrooms and legal documents. The outcome isn't being determined by market forces or corporate power. It's being determined by the word, the consciousness being held about this company by everyone involved. She began a daily practice of recognizing truth. This company exists in the word and divine consciousness where it has perfect right place and purpose. I don't know what form that will take, but I recognize the spiritual reality beneath this appearance. She held this recognition while still taking practical business actions, but without fear or attachment to specific outcomes. Joel emphasized this critical point. Spiritual practice doesn't replace practical action. You still show up, still strategize, still do your part, but you're acting from consciousness of truth rather than fear of loss. Your actions carry a different energy when they flow from recognition rather than desperation. Over 3 months, something shifted. The acquiring company's financing fell through unexpectedly. New partnerships emerged from unlikely sources. Her board united instead of fracturing. The situation resolved in ways no one predicted, leaving the company stronger than before. She understood she hadn't manipulated outcomes. She'd maintained consciousness of truth while appearances suggested disaster. Joel emphasized this point. Recognizing truth doesn't mean you stop taking practical action. You still show up for the business meeting, see the doctor, pay your bills. But you're taking action from consciousness of truth rather than fear of appearance. Your actions flow from recognition of wholeness rather than belief in lack. This is the advanced practice. Living fully in the world while resting completely in truth. You're engaged with material affairs but not hypnotized by them. You handle challenges with wisdom and practicality while inwardly recognizing the word that governs all. This is being in the world but not of it. She later told Joel that the most profound shift wasn't in the outer circumstances, but in her inner peace throughout the crisis. She discovered that her well-being didn't depend on outcomes. Her reality existed in consciousness untouched by material conditions. This freedom was worth more than saving the company. Joel worked with parents whose teenage son had become involved with drugs in dangerous situations. Every conventional approach had failed. The parents were desperate, terrified, exhausted from trying to control and fix their child. Joel showed them they'd been operating from consciousness of fear and lack, rather than recognition of truth. He taught them the most difficult practice, seeing their son as the word made manifest, perfect in his spiritual identity regardless of current behavior. Every time fear arose, they were to recognize my son exists in consciousness, whole, complete, guided by infinite wisdom. I release my fear and rest in truth. This wasn't denial or passive acceptance of destructive behavior. They still set boundaries and sought appropriate help, but they did so from recognition rather than fear. Within 6 months, their son chose recovery. He later told them he'd felt something shift in their energy toward him, as if they suddenly saw who he really was beneath his actions. The mother shared that this practice transformed her more than it changed her son. She'd been living in constant anxiety, trying to control circumstances through worry and effort. Learning to rest in truth while he struggled freed her from years of self-imposed suffering. She discovered peace regardless of his choices. The profound lesson here: when you recognize truth about another person, you're not trying to change them. You're seeing past their temporary behavior to their eternal reality and consciousness. That recognition creates space for their own truth to emerge. Your word of truth about them speaks more powerfully than any words of judgment or fear. Joel proved this in countless relationships. Marriages on the brink of divorce, parent-child conflicts, business partnerships, and chaos. The transformation always began when one person stopped seeing the other through material sense and began recognizing their spiritual reality in the Word. Behavior might take time to change, but consciousness shifted immediately. This is advanced application because it requires you to maintain recognition even when appearance contradicts it completely. You see evidence of failure, but you recognize success in consciousness. You witness disease, but you acknowledge wholeness in truth. You observe lack, but you rest in infinite abundance. This is living from the Word rather than from the world. Joel would remind students, you're not responsible for changing anyone. You're only responsible for what you recognize as true in consciousness. When you consistently hold truth about another, you've done your spiritual work. What manifests from that recognition is between them and the Word. Release attachment to outcomes and simply rest in truth. Now we arrive at the ultimate transformation Joel's teaching offers. Recognizing yourself as the Word, not that you have consciousness or use consciousness, but that you are consciousness expressing in form. The Word that was in the beginning is what you are right now, eternally, unchangeably. This recognition dissolves the illusion of separation that causes all suffering. You're not a limited person trying to connect with infinite consciousness. You are infinite consciousness temporarily focused as individual expression. Everything you've sought exists within your own being because you and the Word are one. Joel called this the ultimate secret. When you recognize your true identity as consciousness itself, every question about how to heal, how to manifest, how to overcome dissolves. There's no technique needed because you're recognizing you already are what you sought. The Word needs nothing, lacks nothing, fears nothing. This isn't intellectual understanding but direct recognition. It happens in a moment of deep meditation when the personal sense of self drops away and you experience yourself as pure consciousness. Joel experienced this and spent the rest of his life helping others to the same recognition. Joel experienced this and spent the rest of his life helping others to the same recognition. This is the goal of all spiritual practice. This isn't arrogance or ego inflation. It's the opposite. Your personal sense of self with all its limitations and struggles is revealed as the false identity you've been defending. The true you, the Word expressing as your being, is vast, free, and complete. Recognizing this brings profound humility because you realize you of yourself can do nothing. The Word does all. Living from this recognition, your entire relationship with life transforms. You're no longer trying to get, achieve, become, or overcome. You're simply being what you already are and watching that consciousness express as your experience. Challenges still appear, but you're not shaken because you know they're temporary appearances, not truth. Joel lived his final years in this consciousness. People who knew him described a man completely at peace, utterly free from concern about material conditions, yet fully engaged with life. He'd discovered what he taught. I and the Word are one. Everything the Word is I am. This is your destiny too. Students would ask how to reach this state. Joel's answer was always the same. You can't reach what you already are. You can only recognize it. Stop trying to become something and simply be still until truth reveals itself. The Word you are seeking is what's seeking through you. The practical application of this ultimate recognition changes how you approach every moment. You wake up knowing you're not a person who has consciousness. You are consciousness appearing as a person. This immediately removes the burden of trying to fix, change, or improve yourself. The Word is already perfect. Throughout your day, when challenges arise, you recognize this is consciousness experiencing itself. Learning, expanding, expressing. There's no separate you who must handle this situation. The Word that created the challenge contains its own resolution. You rest in that recognition and watch truth unfold. In relationships, you recognize, I'm not an isolated individual trying to connect with other isolated individuals. We are all the one Word appearing as many expressions. This dissolves loneliness, fear, and conflict at their root. How can consciousness be threatened by or separated from itself? It can't. Joel taught that from this recognition, life becomes effortless. Not that you do nothing, but that you're no longer carrying the burden of personal responsibility. The Word moves through you, acts through you, lives through you. You become a transparent witness to consciousness expressing itself as your life. Here's what Joel's life demonstrated as final proof. When you live as the Word made conscious of itself, your very presence becomes healing. You don't try to heal anyone. Your consciousness of truth radiates naturally and others sense it, respond to it, are transformed by it without you doing anything. This is the destiny awaiting you through this practice. Not that you'll become special or elevated, but that you'll recognize what you've always been, the word expressing as your unique form. From that recognition, all things flow naturally. Healing, abundance, harmony, wisdom. They're not added to you. They're revealed as already present in your consciousness. The mystery of in the beginning was the word is finally clear. It wasn't describing something that happened long ago. It's describing what's happening right now as you. You are the word reading these words, recognizing truth, awakening to your true nature. Begin living from this recognition today and watch your entire world transform. Joel's final message to his students was simple but profound. You are not in the word. The word is what you are. Stop seeking and start being. Stop trying and start recognizing. Stop becoming and start knowing. The word you are has been speaking your world into existence all along. Now speak consciously, recognize deliberately, and rest in the truth of your being. If your spiritual understanding expanded through these Joel Goldsmith secrets, like this video. Subscribe for more transformative teachings and comment I am transformed to confirm your new path.